Hey, Nicholas with the Backyard TARDIS here. We're going to react to the trailer. Yes, the trailer. Uh, Sonic Generations remake. Eh, I've already seen the title. It's Sonic X Shadow Generations. I really think Sonic Generations and Shadow would have been more on brand. I get it feels like a Capcom title. Having the X in a Sonic title, knowing the Sonic fan base, is probably not a good idea. But so this is, I've been working all day wanting to watch this trailer, haven't been able to. Did not watch the PlayStation Game Awards, and I didn't watch anybody react to it because I wanted to react to this trailer. And so it's been killing me because I haven't had time to sit down and do a reaction. So I've been kind of social media dark today. Little bit of a channel update, like I'm back to making videos, but you're going to see some videos that I recorded at the end of November, beginning of December, that I totally intended to release. And I have to say, second half of November, all of December, till the last week, Google changed the algorithm. I had almost no work. It was crazy, especially with a lot of end of the year bills, and in January there's like a lot of renewals of licensings and stuff like that. I got in a source. I had to put a lot of my patrons and YouTube subscriptions and all that on hold, cancel some of the streaming services I'm subscribed to. It got that bad. Like these little $10, $15, like I had to start turning those off just because every one of them was going to be an overdraft fee. Not me trying to plead for money. I'm good. I'm flush again. But it's funny. I had all the time in the world to work on videos, but because I do this as a hobby and I don't make money, when you're in a situation like that where work isn't coming in, like when work's slow but it's trickling in, that's when I make, like I get real creative and I'm like, oh, I got plenty of time. When no work's coming in, that's when, how can I clean my van? How can I like prep this? What can I change advertise? Like how do I improve my business's social media, the website? How do I jazz these things up? Because I got to make money. I got to figure out a way to make money. Let me go collect all my bottles up and take it into the recycling center. I got to make money. So that's just what it is. So I have decided that I am going to release those videos still because there's some genuine things I want. One, I'm going to do a compilation of a bunch of Sonic videos that I did. So this is going to come out first because this is live. This is originally, when this is going to drop, I was originally going to do a compilation of a bunch of different Sonic videos, different trailers for games that have already come out. And Sonic Prime Season 3 already came out, but I kind of like, I'm going to release that, and then maybe I will do a video afterwards, like my thoughts of like, hey, you saw how innocent I was, or what my predictions were, outdated as they are now that all that stuff's come out, and then I can respond to how I felt about it after it came out. So, that just kind of an update. I have 2 trailers from the Game Awards, the Sega one and the Jurassic Park one that I reacted to, some stuff on Godzilla Minus One, just some stuff like that. Plus, I did about 5 different death battles that I've recorded that I have not released. I did go through and edit all of them, and they've uploaded all of them, so they're all on the channel waiting for me to release them at some point. So I will probably be tricking those in. And, just want to get back to maybe doing some top 10s or doing some random thought podcast. Getting back to that, I thought about just making that an audio podcast. It would make it easier for me to do it, as sometimes it's not conducive for me to get in the van. Anyways, I'm making this way too long of an intro for a reaction video giving an update. You won't care about this if you watch this later, but yeah, just wanted to kind of say that those stuff are going to be appearing. But now it's time to get to this. So Sonic Generations, it's. I mean, one, I saw the title. Two, I kind of it was leaked. It was everybody knew this game was coming. People who listen to Zippo don't listen to Zippo. He says there's also a Sonic and Shadow game. This is probably going to be all one thing. I've heard other leaks that say that Shadow is in this. That's not a big thing. That just, to me, seems like, was it Sonic Forces? You know, Shadow DLC. It's probably either going to be just a Shadow storyline, mostly going through the same levels. Maybe he'll have an extra level, but it'll probably just be a lot of reused assets. You know, maybe reworked a little bit, but just kind of like a Shadow storyline of what he was doing through the events of Sonic Generations. That's what I expect. Just kind of a separate DLC that's little short, you know, an hour, you know, extra of playtime or whatever, and just being able to go through the levels as Shadow, who, for all intents and purposes, plays exactly like Sonic, so there's no reason. And this will play up right in time for the big Sonic Movie 3. I mean, a lot of people were really surprised that there wasn't, for Sonic Frontiers, there wasn't a Shadow DLC. Some people still think that there might be a Shadow DLC around the time of the movie. I think this port of Generations is where we're going to see that, not on that game, which they will consider something like it'll have edged out the end of its life. This will be what was new, what's coming out during the movie. Yeah. So, because I already knew exactly what it was, I wasn't going to watch the Game Awards. Plus, I didn't have time. I was working. And the other thing is, I don't own a PlayStation. I haven't owned a PlayStation since I bought a PS3 to play Sonic Generations. And mind you, I have my tablet that is a Windows tablet, and I have Sonic Generations on that. It is able to run it. Probably won't be able to run this updated version. Hopefully they don't delete this one off the Steam store. Play a Sonic Origins there. But I'm not going to go out and buy a PlayStation for this. And I'm really hoping it's on the Switch. Sonic Generations really got snubbed when it came to Nintendo. Yes, there was the 3DS version, and I would love for the 3DS levels to be ported as like bonus content. That would be amazing. They're not going to do it. That is a level of, like, they didn't do it with Sonic Colors. They're not going to do it with Generations. It would be cool. It would be super cool. They're not going to do it. Yeah, so I want it on the Switch. I want to play it on the Switch. It's the number one Boost game I want on the Switch, and it never came to the Wii U. I felt like it should have. I felt like there should have been a director's cut, or maybe some bonus features or something that should have been on the Wii U. The Wii U came out the year after this kind of made its splash. It would have made sense to do a port on that. I mean, the Arkham trilogy, all these PS3 games were getting ports to the Wii U. Why did Sonic Generations, which did gangbusters for Sega, why did it not get a port to the Wii U? I mean, yeah, in the long run, the Wii U was a gamble. But for all the Sonic games and devotion that Sega gave and the contract they made with them, they didn't port Sonic Generations, which I think would have been a big deal. So, anyways, with that, let's get to watching this. Okay. Yeah, Sonic Generations. I love the classic City Escape track. Oh, skateboarding. I love that level. Okay, we're just getting 2 levels here. Like the original trailer. With that. Whoa, okay. Oh, I like how classic Sonic looked there. He is like, huh? Who's that? I'm Edgy, the Edgelord. Whoa, okay, so new levels. Getting new levels. Do I? Oh, Black Doom is gonna be in this game. I, okay. This BioLizard. Okay. Oh, that boss looks cool. Sonic X Shadow Generations with the Sonic. Okay, but the big thing there, yeah, it had the big thing there um, was that it had the Switch logo, so it is coming to Switch. Hopefully, it runs good on Switch. I mean, I know they're upgrading the game, but let's be honest. This game is a game from the PS3, Xbox 360 era. It should run fine on the Switch. you know, if you can't make it as HD or whatever on the Switch, because the Switch doesn't do 4K, then it should run just fine. I don't want to see that the Switch port is the redheaded stepchild, like in Frontiers. At that point, if it's going to be that bad, they need to do what they did back in the Wii. When Sonic Unleashed came out for the Wii and PS2, it was not, how to put this, it was a completely different version. I mean, they shared some assets, they shared like the general layout, like it was the game, but it was a separate team that worked on porting it. It was downgraded graphically. They got rid of the hub world, but there was also things that were unique to the Wii version that were actually in some ways better than the Xbox. And there were some things that got cut that were actually not desirable things. I know a lot of people complained about the PS3, Xbox 360 version for like the flying, and like that completely is just like a cutscene in the Wii, and so it was, and there are other people that said like, oh, the hub worlds were too big and empty, and in the Wii you're just going around. They're each their own flavor, just kind of like say Sonic Colors on the Wii versus the 3DS. They're the same game, different flavor. There is not just a poor port. There's a big difference between having another team make the same game for a different system than putting a port of a game that technically can't run on a system and just like downgrading the frame rate, making horrible pop-in, all that kind of stuff that you saw with Forces on the Switch. I want to see that. If you can't make it work right on the Switch, I just want a port of the original. Like a straight up non-HD, non-remastered, just a port of the original for the Switch, to be on the eShop. Like digital only eShop, just like it was on Sony and Microsoft, if you can't make the game actually run on that hardware. I have mixed feelings about this. I think this is brilliant marketing. I think this is the perfect time to highlight Shadow. I wish they would have done this with Knuckles with the Sonic 2 movie, or Tails for that matter. But I do feel like this was a great time to highlight Shadow. I think because of that, it will sell well. But it makes reference to a game that I don't like. It is the game that I feel ruined Shadow forever. Like, Shadow, of course, he was the absolute coolest in Sonic Adventure 2. He was great as a bad guy, and then that redeeming moment at the end, and he gives the ultimate sacrifice, and it's kind of like this full, complete story. And there are days when I go, I wish he never came back because of that. However, I love his story in Heroes. I love his story in Battle. His story in 06, some people will call that the pinnacle. I feel like some of those cutscenes were the pinnacle. The gameplay was not. I feel like he played horribly in that game. I felt like they basically put stuff from the Shadow the Hedgehog game as the game mechanics in there, with a little bit more polished and up-res visuals, but it was still that game's broken gameplay mechanics. But the cutscenes did Shadow how I want him. The overall story of that game does not, but like his conversation with Mephiles there at the end, and kind of some of the stuff with like Omega and his future, like I thought that was all great. I thought that did great. But then you have Shadow the Hedgehog. There are so many things wrong with that, and the people who are like diehard Shadow fans seem to love that game. They were the edgy teens or preteens at the time when that game came out, that were just like obsessed with Shadow, and he was always he's way cooler than actual Sonic, and they think that him having guns and riding a Harley is like super cool. And there are like if they have him using guns in this game, it's gonna ruin it for me, man. It's gonna ruin it for me, because from a narrative, Shadow is a living weapon. He is genetically enhanced, and it would be like if the Reverse Flash had a machine gun, and like he went around and like that was his primary way of attacking, even though he was faster than bullets and can vibrate his hand and go into people's chests and do all that kind of stuff. Like he was just going around shooting people like a normal thug. He just happened to be able to run around the room real fast. It doesn't make Shadow, with his sheer speed, his punches are more deadly than bullets. Why would he ever stoop so low to pick up a gun? It's beneath him. It is man's pathetic machines that they think can stop him, the ultimate life. It would be like Darth Vader using a gun. Like, how uncool would Darth Vader be if instead of his lightsaber, instead of using the Force, like he was like, oh, I'm gonna pick up this blaster and sit behind cover and start. That would like kill Vader's thing. And then the Harley. I mean, could you see any speedster in any show made cooler by the idea of them riding a Harley? I mean, I get it, like, Sonic owns a race car, but it's always been, well, he owns that to, make the race competition fair. And he just likes the joy of driving, but, like, if he's in battle, he's not taking his car out with him. He's running when he's out to wreck shop. So, and then there was the whole thing with the Doom, Black Doom and Doom Eye. Sorry, long day. But so the idea is that originally Gerald created Shadow as a thing for the government, but he was specifically genetically engineering a cure for diseases. He was trying to make this, and it was to cure Maria, who had this disease that was threatening her. She was too weak. She couldn't survive on Earth, so she had to be up in the space station. There was an idea that the government wanted him to also develop a weapon to fund this. That was the Bio Lizard, which was technically Project Shadow, but he got named Shadow. And so they were two different things. Like, he's working on that. However, when Maria gets that, like, he genetically alters Shadow. Like, he's supposed to have perfect cells and all this kind of stuff. And he makes him into a living weapon that can pull upon chaos energy. So he is a conduit. Like, Sonic is like pure of heart and pure of will, that he is able to harness the Chaos Emeralds naturally, whereas a lot of other characters cannot do it as easy as him. Like, he's the one that turns super. Robotnik has to use machines to do it. Most people cannot like they can get imbued with a little bit of power if they collect all the Chaos Emeralds, but most of them can't just hold a Chaos Emerald and suddenly have powers. That's typically how it has played out in Sonic. But Shadow can absorb it. Like, he can do stuff that Super Sonic can do sometimes with just one Chaos Emerald. Like, there are abilities that Sonic doesn't have with a Chaos Emerald. They are part of, like, Super Sonic's arsenal. Not to say that Shadow with one Chaos Emerald is anywhere near Super Sonic's level. But because he is such a conduit for Chaos Energy, he's been genetically engineered that way. He can teleport. He can do this. Now, Sonic learns to imitate from Shadow, but Sonic has to struggle to do these things. These things are directly, naturally. We saw in this trailer, he threw a Chaos Spear at the Bio Lizard. You know, so he can throw Chaos Spears, he can do Chaos Boss, he can do that stuff. That was the original backstory, right? Maria gets killed, he gets genetically reprogrammed. Maria's last words were, "Save humanity, don't blame them, be their savior." But Gerald, like, genetically manipulates his brainwaves or whatever, you know, get revenge for me. So he's gonna, like, destroy and wipe out humanity as part of Gerald's revenge. And he's put this desire into the Bio Lizard as well. The Shadow getting past that, remembering his real quest, and saving humanity at the end. That was his original story. Then in Shadow the Hedgehog, they bring in this whole thing that apparently aliens visited the space station. The government didn't know about it, but aliens came in and they said, "Hey, we got DNA that is part of our, like, hive mind that could cure your daughter. And we'll give you that, but you have to turn Shadow into the living weapon that will eventually conquer your planet. And when we come to collect, Shadow needs to be, like, predisposed genetically to help us and wipe out humanity." It's very short-sighted General Robotnik to take on that thing. And so the game is about, like, Shadow having this pull to do that, but he has this commitment to Maria, and Robotnik's kind of Gerald's thing, so he's, part of him wants to save humanity, part of him wants to work for the aliens and destroy humanity, and part of him is drawn to Eggman. And so there's these three paths that he goes through the games, and then it, like, branches out to lots of paths, but it's like the three main story beats or whatever. And he could kill the president, it's just the game one, because it has so many endings and it doesn't have one that's definitively canon. It leaves the canon a super mess for anything that follows up after it. And I feel like it wrecks Shadow as a character. It introduced Shadow using guns because that was edgy. Like, if they wanted a Sonic character to use guns, they had Knack the Weasel, but which is Fang the Sniper, the Jeroboa. That's another story from maybe a Sonic Superstars review. But they had Rouge the Bat. Like, she was super spy. She was kind of like lady feminine James Bond type character. Is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Well, I live in the criminal underworld, but I'm secretly working for the government type thing. Spy gear, guns, grappling hooks, vehicles, all that stuff makes 100% sense for her. Makes 0% sense for Shadow as a character. So it was a convolution to his backstory, which was already a little melodramatic. I liked it, but it was a little melodramatic. If we're being honest, it's talking hedgehogs and they're being emo and gonna blow up the world for it. It's melodramatic. Then now it's just a soap opera. He's secretly half alien, baby. And now he has alien daddy issues. No, let's not. It was something I appreciated them ignoring that. I had liked that Shadow hadn't been shown using a gun since '06. Like, that was kind of the last iteration of that version of Shadow. Say what you will, they have recently been directing him to be directed like Vegeta. He was the best part of Sonic Prime. He was really cool in that. Very well portrayed in that. I don't 100% against the playing him like Vegeta. It's the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. And specifically because he's trying to be a force of good, and in a lot of ways, he's like Sonic except for ruthless and willing to kill the enemies. You kind of have to write him out. Why is he not just wiping out all the bad villains right from the get-go? It's just one of those things that Shadow is cool, but unlike like Blaze is in another dimension, which that's horrible for like the comics and stuff. Like, oh, we want to use him. Silver is in the future. Like, we want to, but you need to have a reason why everything is down to just Sonic at the end of the game, and why Shadow isn't going super. Now, I would say you also need a reason why Knuckles is not stepping up, because in my mind, Knuckles is just as big a character as Sonic in power and stuff, and we saw that in the Sonic movie 2, and I have a feeling like in Sonic movie 3, Knuckles is going to take a little bit of a backseat like he did before. He's not going to be, Sonic's the only one that can beat Shadow. Well, Knuckles was holding his own with Sonic. Why can't he hold his own with Shadow? That's the problem with introducing these powerful characters and then keeping them part of the main cast. It's kind of why it was cool when Shadow died. It was like it was this complete story. So I don't mind them having Shadow clearly able to save the day, but then letting his ego somehow Vegeta him out of the fight, like it did in Forces, like it did in the Metal Virus Saga. I'm not against that. I know it upsets Shadow fans to no end. I'm not against it. I'm also not against... I loved what Boom did with him. I love that they just made him up a straight villain. Sonic needs more of that. We can't have Mirror Universe Sonic, Evil Sonic, because, Penders. So, that's what Shadow's great for. Let's have Shadow do that. In an alternate. Like, yes, in mainline Sonic, the lore is this, and we should stick to that. But, the Shadow the Hedgehog game, that's just... It is a messy trying to put all that into canon. And I know lately they have been trying to clean canon up and actually make it matter. And so I hope in some ways that this game does that, but I am worried about the reaction. Just like I'm worried about the fan reaction to Sonic Movie 3. Sonic Movie 3, if it is not perfectly loved by the Shadow fandom, they're going to be loud and obnoxious. And they're going to critique it, and suddenly they're going to retroactively hate the last two movies, and they're just going to be loud and nasty, and they're going to leave a bitter taste in Paramount's mouth. But at the end of the day, it won't affect Paramount, because the Shadow fandom is a niche inside an already niche fandom of Sonic the Hedgehog. That the reason why, like, the redesign, why that fan outcry made something, because it wasn't just fans. It was people who don't play Sonic the Hedgehog that, like, bought the games for their kids, and they're like, that's not Sonic, that's creepy, why would I take my kid to that? That was the late night shows, making jokes. Conan O'Brien having ugly Sonic come on there and pretend, The things... It became the laughing stock of the internet. And even people who had no idea who Sonic was knew, oh, this is quality. And they jumped in. Not one late night talk show host is going to talk about Shadow fans being upset about the movie. It won't bump the needle a teeny mark. It won't. And because anytime there's a game where, the sequel... None of those people talk about it. but everybody talked about the Sonic movie design. That's when it's going to be news. Nobody's going to care about a junky third sequel to a Sonic movie. Didn't properly, like, that, you know, the last Airbender live action movie or whatever that everybody hates, like, that didn't get the attention of all those people. This certainly won't, especially because it'll be after the fact. It'll be all praise, and it won't be till after everybody goes and sees the movie that then they'll be mad, and after Paramount's already made their money. They won't care. They won't care. So, but they'll be insufferable for us in the fandom. Starting to rain. I gotta wrap this up. But yeah, so to me, that's the big deal. Is I don't want to have the insufferableness in the fandom. I want to enjoy this. I've rambled on long enough. What did you think of the trailer? I have mixed, I have nervousness. I'm really glad to get the Generations port. I also, I take back what I said. I thought this was going to be like Forces. I now think of this as more of the Super Mario 3D World or whatever that was on the Wii U, and then they did Bowser's Fury. I don't think this is going to actually be in the Generations story, and I don't even know if he'll be playable through the Generations levels, and I don't think any of his levels you'll be able to play through with Sonic or Classic Sonic. I have a feeling that this Shadow Generations is going to be a separate game that you are going to click on the menu. You're going to go, do you want to play Sonic Generations or do you want to play X Shadow? And you're going to click on that, and this is basically going to be the highlights of Shadow. And I honestly think that it's going to go past Generations. I think we're probably going to get the Forces stuff. I think we'll probably get, some Sonic Heroes, some Sonic 06, Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Adventure 2. I think we're going to get all of that. And it's just going to be basically Shadow the Hedgehog, the highlights, the game. And it'll be a separate game. It will be smaller than Generations. But it will be a supplemental game with the port. And the port will not be that impressive. The port itself will be upressing some assets to 4K, just like some little quality life, and it's a port to newer hardware to get rid of some of the bugs of the like backwards compatibility ports of the original game, because you could still buy them on new systems. They were just the old version through their online stores. So that's all I think. That I think in a lot of ways that's just going to be a port, but because that was still available for most systems except for the Switch, I think like they knew that wasn't a big. It's requested a lot. It's a big thing. It'll be a hit with new people, but they knew for a lot of people, what's the draw? Well, we're gonna make this new game. It's gonna tie into the movie, and it's gonna be the draw. So, anyways, that's my final thoughts on it. Just had to release this big trailer, but we knew about it, so the surprise wasn't really there. But let me know what you think about it. Are you excited about it? Did you go, why did you just ramble about Sonic the Hedgehog for a half hour? Why do you keep doing this to me, backyard artist? Go back to talking about Star Trek and Star Wars and Stargate and Doctor Who. Yeah, so, okay. I'll catch you in the next video.